This evening, first up, 3 days of national mourning begin today. As the wreckage site of the MV Barima is confirmed, 57 bodies recovered and 16 vessels now searching an additional 400 square miles of water. Reinforcements from Trinidad and Brazil arrived today and Guyana grieves as one. Also, the Prime Minister makes a promise for transparency, an independent investigation, and an open invitation for anyone with information to come forward. As the death toll climbs, the government says there is nothing to hide. Then, the vessel itself will now be lifted from the seabed. President Ali announces a new phase in the operation, using flotation equipment and ExxonMobil's seabed mapping technology, and tells grieving families the word rescue has not been abandoned just yet. Meanwhile, 2 boats collided head-on in the Canje River. 8 people hospitalized, including 4 young children and a security guard, now fighting for his life in surgery. A medical outreach team and a passenger boat are now a community left shaken. And wildfires are scorching southern Europe, forcing thousands from their homes across Spain, France, Italy, and Greece. Those stories and more coming up. Stay with us. Welcome to this broadcast of Channel 2's Headline News Update for July 22nd, 2026. I'm Baby Bacchus. Thank you for joining us. First up, Guyana has announced 3 days of national mourning as search and recovery operations intensify following confirmation of the MV Barima wreckage site, with grieving families gathering at Saudi Hospital to identify recovered remains. Prime Minister Brigadier Retired Mark Phillips said Tuesday that operations have ramped up significantly since the wreckage coordinates were confirmed on Monday, July 20th. 16 state and private sector vessels are now deployed at the site, and the search area has expanded by 400 square miles to Waiini Point to maximize the chances of finding remaining persons. Up to press time, 76 people have been rescued and 57 bodies recovered, with 26 positively identified. Aircraft are transporting family members to Saudi Hospital for identification, while aerial surveillance and French and local divers continue underwater search efforts at the wreckage site. Health Minister Dr. Frank Anthony's team remains at Saudi Hospital facilitating release of identified remains. 11 bodies have already been repatriated to families' home community, with regional authorities assisting with burial arrangements. All recovered bodies must be transferred immediately to Guyana Police Force custody at Canje River Dam per established protocols. Reinforcements from Trinidad and Tobago's Coast Guard and the Brazilian Navy have arrived today to bolster operations. The Maritime Rescue Coordination Center remains fully operational, with officials committing to continue efforts until every reasonable effort has been exhausted. President Ali also announced Guyana will observe 3 days of national mourning from today, Wednesday, July 22nd, to Friday, July 24th, in honor of the victims. The people of Guyana extend their condolences to affected families and keep those impacted and the personnel involved in the operation in their thoughts and prayers. Prime Minister Brigadier Retired Mark Phillips has pledged full government support for any independent investigation into Guyana's deadliest maritime disaster, urging citizens with relevant information to come forward as the death toll climbs. At a Tuesday evening briefing, Prime Minister Phillips assured the public of the government's commitment to transparency, insisting there is nothing to hide. He said, if you have a report when the investigation process starts, the Commission of Inquiry, or whatever you want to call it, feels free to come forward and give statements, adding the government is obligated to thoroughly examine the tragedy given the scale of loss. Search operations have intensified, with 16 state and private vessels now covering roughly 400 square miles extending to Waiini Point. At Saudi Hospital, Health Minister Dr. Frank Anthony's team continues supporting forensic identification and grieving families. On Tuesday, 11 identified victims had been repatriated to their home communities, with further repatriation underway. 4 refrigerated containers have been deployed to aid dignified handling of victims, with 42 bodies currently in storage as regional authorities coordinate identification, funerals, and burials. The Prime Minister reminded all agencies and volunteers that recovered bodies must be transferred immediately to Ghana Police Force custody at the designated Canje River Dam facility in line with established protocols. The Prime Minister reiterated the government's condolences to affected families amid what has become one of Ghana's greatest tragedies. President Dr. Mohamed Irfaan Ali's declaration of 3 days of national mourning continues, with citizens urged to keep victims, families, and rescue personnel in their thoughts and prayers. The government will launch an operation to lift the sunken MV Barima from the seabed using specialized flotation equipment as rescue and recovery efforts enter a critical new phase. President Dr. Mohamed Irfaan Ali announced the plans during a late-night briefing with families of those still missing, assuring them that technical teams and emergency responders will work around the clock until every possible effort had been exhausted. The operation will use flotation devices to move the vessel from the seabed, giving responders greater access to continue the rescue and recovery mission. Additional divers and specialized assets were scheduled to arrive earlier today, while teams from the Ghana Defense Force, Coast Guard, police, private sector partners, and civilian volunteers continue searching throughout the night. President Ali said the government has used advanced seabed mapping technology, supported by ExxonMobil, to pinpoint the vessel's exact position and guide recovery efforts. The survey found the vessel resting on its starboard side on the seabed, with its stern closest to the shoreline. Recognizing the emotional toll on families awaiting news of loved ones, the president arranged overnight transportation for them to rest, while ensuring they would be kept informed of developments and returned to the operations center early this morning. Despite the difficult conditions, the president stressed the mission remains one of rescue as well as recovery. "We have not ruled out rescue as yet," he told the families, thanking members of the joint services, medical personnel, regional officials, volunteers, and civilian partners for their tireless efforts. The operation to raise MV Barima is expected to give rescuers improved access to the wreckage as authorities continue the painstaking search for those still unaccounted for. Stick around when we return. Police destroy $31 million in cannabis after uncovering massive 6-acre plantation, and boats collide head-on in Canje River, 8 hospitalized.
Good girl forget things.
What's the problem, Granny?
I want money for borrow for do a surgery. I was dancing and I fall and fracture my hip.
If you need some quick money, you should check Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop, Lot 238 South Road Border, Georgetown. Get jewelry made to order in just 72 hours. We also accept vehicles. Lender's, best rates, longest payback period.
Boys, I get through. Plus, I could dance again. Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Welcome back. 2 boats collided head-on in the Canje River, Berbice, on Tuesday afternoon, leaving 8 people hospitalized, including 4 young children and a security guard, now in critical condition. The crash occurred around 2:30 p.m. near Patwala Canje Creek, involving an unregistered private vessel and a boat carrying a government medical outreach team. Police and Region 6 health officials said 1 boat was transporting 8 medical personnel returning from a health outreach in Baracara along the upper Canje River, while the other carried 8 passengers, including several children, headed to Baracara village. Preliminary investigations found the medical team's boat, captained by a 35-year-old man of Kimbia, left Baracara around 1 p.m. and collided head-on with the second vessel while traveling through the Patwala area. The boat was captained by 38-year-old Claremont Lafleur, a security guard of Baracara, whose vessel sustained significant damage. Lafleur's relative alleged the other captain was negligent in speeding. The collision injured several people, including 4 children aged 1 to 7. All were initially taken to the New Amsterdam Public Hospital for treatment. Lafleur, due to the severity of his injuries, was later transferred to the Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation, where his family says he remains in critical condition and is undergoing surgery. The 7 other injured passengers remain hospitalized at New Amsterdam Public Hospital. Police investigations into the incident are continuing. Moving on, 80,000 plants, 6 acres, $31 million. That's the staggering tally from a massive cannabis bust deep in the Berbice River, where police torched one of the region's largest narcotics operations in recent memories. Police have uprooted and torched approximately 80,000 suspected cannabis plants worth over $31 million after discovering a sprawling 6-acre plantation hidden in the forests of Bairuni village, Upper Berbice River. The joint eradication exercise, led by a gazetted officer, was carried out on Tuesday, July 21st, between 5:30 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. Ranks located a field spanning approximately 6 acres, containing an estimated 80,000 suspected cannabis plants, ranging between 2 and 5 feet in height. In addition to the plants, police discovered approximately 10 pounds of dried cannabis and a 20-foot by 10-foot makeshift camp at the site. All of the suspected narcotics, along with the camp, were destroyed by fire during the operation. The estimated value of the narcotics destroyed stands at over 31 million Ghana dollars. No arrest has been made in connection with the find, and investigations are continuing. Don't go away after the break. Trump delays new U.S.-Canada bridge opening amid growing trade dispute. On war on Iran, President Donald Trump says U.S. not done yet.
Good girl forget things.
What's the problem, Granny?
I want money for borrow for those surgery. I was dancing and I fall and fracture my hip.
If you need some quick money, you should check Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop, lot 238 South Road Border, Georgetown. Get jewelry made to order in just 72 hours. We also accept vehicles. Lenders, best rates, longest payback period.
Boys, I get through. Plus, I could dance again. Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Welcome back. Now we take a look at what's happening in the region and around the world.
Good evening. Tonight, the U.S. sends its first humanitarian flight to Cuba under a new $100 million commitment. A new bridge becomes the latest flashpoint in the U.S.-Canada trade row. Lebanon's leader visits the White House for the first time in 16 years, and wildfires force thousands from homes across southern Europe. We open up in the Caribbean, where the United States and Catholic Relief Services have sent the first humanitarian relief flight to Cuba under a new $100 million assistance commitment announced by Secretary of State Marco Rubio. The shipment, which departed Miami on Tuesday, includes food and hygiene kits for up to 700 Cuban families. Supplies will be distributed through the Catholic Church and Caritas Cuba, bypassing government channels entirely. The planned opening of the Gordie Howe International Bridge between Detroit and Windsor have become another flashpoint in the growing trade dispute between the United States and Canada. Al Jazeera's Ian Wood reports.
Every day, thousands of trucks cross the U.S.-Canada border, carrying nearly $1 trillion in annual trade.
We share the world's longest undefended border. There's no fence, just a series of customs gates that folks go through.
1/3 of that land trade passes over the century-old Ambassador Bridge, connecting Detroit and Windsor, cities at the heart of North America's auto industry. More than a decade ago, both countries agreed to build a new crossing. Today, the Gordie Howe International Bridge stands over the Detroit River, ready for traffic, but Donald Trump postponed its opening.
President Donald Trump says the U.S. got a bad deal, even though Canada paid for the entire $4.5 billion bridge. And the project, it used materials and workers from both sides of the border.
U.S. Democrats blame the delay on President Trump's ties to the Ambassador Bridge owner and Republican donor Matthew Maroon. The Trump administration denies this claim. The new bridge has become yet another flashpoint in Trump's trade war with Canada.
We're all bearing the brunt of the same storm, weakening the North American automaking capability while the Chinese are getting stronger.
Most trade remains protected by a free trade agreement, but tariffs have hit key Canadian industries hard, including softwood lumber, steel, aluminum, and the auto sector, increasing costs for American and Canadian consumers and interrupting highly integrated supply chains.
What has changed is that the notion that integration is a source of strength is not finding favor in all quarters, and I think in the U.S. administration is questioning whether that always makes sense.
Canada's Prime Minister Mark Carney has made a significant effort to build new global partnerships, but forging new economic ties takes time. For now, Canadians have fought back boycotting U.S. products and travel south of the border.
The thing that they can control in this world of chaos of Donald Trump is where they spend their money. So you see Canadians en masse deciding not to travel in the United States and spend their money elsewhere.
Billions of dollars in trade still cross the border every day, even as these two historic allies and neighbors find themselves increasingly apart. Ian Wood, Al Jazeera, Windsor, Canada.
U.S. President Donald Trump met with Lebanese leader Joseph Aoun in Washington earlier. It was the first time a Lebanese head of state has visited the White House since 2009. Al Jazeera's Alan Fisher reports.
After days and nights of airstrikes across Iran, a warning from the president that the US isn't done yet.
We're not finished at all, but if we left right now, it would take them a long time, years to rebuild. But we're not leaving right now. So we've had a big impact on Iran.
Sitting with the president of Lebanon in the Oval Office, the Middle East and Iran still top of Donald Trump's agenda. He's been briefed on several plans for the next stage of the conflict, the decision his to make. A new blockade is already in place, more aircraft and soldiers being moved to the area. There could be a wider campaign of airstrikes, more targets, more intense. The president seemed irritated when a reporter suggested there were no signs the Iranians really wanted to make peace.
Until they give up?
There are no signs. Why, do you know something that I don't know?
Well, they continue to attack our allies and
You don't know what the dialogue is behind the scenes, that they want to meet desperately to try and end it because they're getting decimated. You don't get that when you listen to your fake station, but you don't know anything.
So talks are
you know
still
something
possible,
that I don't
likely?
know? Do you know something I don't know?
Well, tell us.
What's reportedly under discussion, a 10-day ceasefire with the intention of getting both sides talking again, if not to each other, at least to mediators, who are determined to try and get the Memorandum of Understanding back on track. Trump says he's willing to strike a deal with Iran, some would suggest even keen, but he's made it clear until he believes they are serious about negotiating, there will be no let up in the air and missile strikes. Alan Fisher, Al Jazeera, at the White House.
Wildfires are scorching southern Europe, including Spain, France, Italy, and Greece. Thousands of people have been forced from their homes. Al Jazeera's Imogen Kimber reports.
Kilometres of scorched earth in central Spain. The La Miela wildfire has damaged 300 square kilometres and forced evacuations in at least 34 municipalities. It's the biggest wildfire in Spain this year. The fire moves fast.
Can you see how the burnt bark is falling here? They can travel for kilometers, and as soon as they land on the grass, it burns. They turn into new fire outbreaks that spread.
With fire raging just outside their town, these residents created fire breaks with tractors and backpacks of water, while firefighters used trucks and helicopters.
The wildfire has advanced in a very uncontrolled way, but with good firefighting efforts, we will be able to control it.
But it's proving hard to control wildfires in Spain as the east of the country also burns. And earlier this month, 13 people were killed in another blaze. And there's wildfires in other parts of Europe. Scientists say climate change is driving ever higher record temperatures and worsening drought. In southern France, firefighters have made over 100 aerial drops to contain a blaze that covers 5 square kilometres. And sheets of thick smoke have clouded the sky near the Bordeaux-Mérignac airport. In Sicily, an olive grove has been decimated.
We were unable to save anything. We lost both this year's harvest and the trees themselves, which means losing future production of Sicilian extra virgin olive oil as well.
For several years, wildfires across Europe have become more frequent and more intense, raising alarm bells among scientists, emergency services and activists. Imogen Kimber, Al Jazeera.
Thanks, Dominique. This brings us to the end of our regional and global news coverage. Up next is the 3D weather forecast. And that's it for the 2 headline news for this Wednesday evening. As we take our leave, we invite you to follow us on Facebook and YouTube. You can tune in tomorrow at 6:30 a.m. for rebroadcast and 7 p.m. for more news. Until then, please take care of yourselves and each other.